Welcome back to my channel, Brutus on Baseball. Today's video is going to be a continuation again of my biggest prospect bust video series. I left it off last time with Mark Pryor, Drew Henson, early 2000s, and I'm going to continue again today. This time around 2003, and we're going to start with the younger brother of Dmitri Young, Delmon Young. Delmon Young was the consensus #1 prospect in baseball in the whole country going into the 2003 draft. And he was selected #1 overall by the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. He was seen as a can't-miss prospect, and so the Devil Rays signed him to a 5-year, $5.85 million major league contract. And for those that may not remember, major league contracts were signed by teams when they really believed in a player that he was going to make the big leagues sooner than later. That way they're not paying him a huge sum of money to play in the minor leagues. But as a result of that, those teams wanted to see that player excel fast and move up the ladder of the minor league system, or else it was kind of a waste of money, especially for a team like the Devil Rays. But Delmon Young hit exceptionally well as he rose up through the minor leagues, including a .315, .354, .527 slash line with 26 home runs across AA and AAA as a 19-year-old, where he was also named the 2005 Minor League Player of the Year. He was ranked the #3 prospect in all of baseball prior to the 2004 and 2005 seasons, the #1 prospect in all of baseball prior to the 2006 season, and again the #3 prospect prior to the 2007 season. He performed so well in the minor leagues that he was called up to the Devil Rays big league squad late in 2006, where he again performed really well, slashing .317, .336, .476 with a 108 OPS plus in his first 30 games in the big leagues. But his performance was not his major issue as he rose up through the minor league system. It was his temper. In 2005, while playing in a AA game, he was suspended for 3 games after bumping an umpire during an altercation. And then in April of 2006, while playing in AAA for the Durham Bulls, Delmon was rung up on a 3rd strike looking that he didn't think was a strike. And on his way back to the dugout, he flung his bat at the umpire end over end, striking the umpire in the chest. He did issue an apology the next day, saying that he didn't mean for the bat to actually hit the umpire, but at the same time acknowledging that he shouldn't have thrown it. The International League suspended Delmon for 50 games as a result of that incident. The Rays soon grew tired of not only his temper, but his lack of a work ethic. And even after placing 2nd in the Rookie of the Year voting in 2008, the Rays decided to trade him that offseason to the Minnesota Twins. Delmon played fairly well for the Twins, winning the starting left field job in his first year there, and eventually having his best year of his career in 2010, slashing .298, .333, .493 with 21 home runs and a 124 OPS plus. But his defense was severely lagging behind his offensive production, especially as his weight ballooned and he got fairly out of shape. He was traded from the Twins to the Tigers for the 2011 and 2012 seasons, which were pretty mediocre seasons, including an incident early in 2012 when he was arrested for a hate crime after yelling anti-Semitic slurs while intoxicated. He was suspended by Major League Baseball for 7 games. He signed with the Philadelphia Phillies for the 2013 season, but he didn't perform very well with them and refused an assignment back to the minor leagues in August of 2013. He was eventually picked up by the Devil Rays again in 2013, and also the Baltimore Orioles for the 2014 and 2015 seasons. But in February of 2016, Delmon Young was arrested again for battery when he choked and threatened the life of a valet at a hotel in Miami, Florida. After that, no one in Major League Baseball wanted to touch him. So he ended up jumping around the Australian League, the Mexican League, the Venezuelan League, and then the Australian League once again as late as 2021. But he never got a sniff of the major leagues again. In September of 2021, Delmon Young was arrested again for punching his ex-girlfriend in the chest, an altercation that was caught on video, and then Delmon fled the scene. He hasn't been heard from in the baseball scene since then. We don't see this type of thing as often, maybe back to '95 with Ruben Rivera in that video that I made. But Delmon's issue was his temper, lack of work ethic, and even though he had some good seasons, he just couldn't meet the hype of the player that he was expected to be. And when you couple that with all of the off-field issues, he just wasn't worth it to anybody to pursue him as a player. The next one up, also around the 2003 season, is power hitting first baseman Jason Stokes. As a senior in high school in Florida, Stokes showed off his power, hitting 25 home runs his senior season, which was a state high school record, and he was chosen as the High School Player of the Year in 2000. He was selected by the Florida Marlins in the second round of the 2000 draft, and he broke out in a big way in 2002, while in Single A, slashing .341, .421, .645 with 27 home runs in only 97 games. He won the Minor League Player of the Year award in that season and also was selected as the minor league's best power prospect, which led him to a number 15 overall prospect ranking going into the 2003 season. Jason Stokes' biggest cards were his 2002 Bowman and Bowman Chrome draft picks and prospects cards. Now, Stokes performed well the next two seasons again as he moved his way up through AA, continuing to show off his prodigious power. But starting with his promotion to AAA in the 2005 season, he began to slow down and be hampered by injuries to his hand, legs, and back that really started to sap his power. Without his power, by far his best tool, he just didn't have enough going for him and he stalled. Playing in AAA in 2005, 2006, and again in 2007 without sniffing the major leagues. After dealing with those nagging injuries and no progress, Stokes decided to retire as a player after the 2007 season without ever making it to the big leagues. He did try to make a comeback briefly in 2010 with the Detroit Tigers, but he was released when he got injured in spring training before ever suiting out for the major league team in a regular season game. He signed with the independent league team that same season, but also couldn't make an impact for that team, so he decided to retire for a second time as a player in 2010. After Stokes, we're going to move forward just a little bit into the Atlanta Braves' third base prospect from the Dominican Republic, Andy Marte. Andy Marte was signed as a 16-year-old out of the Dominican in 2000 by the Atlanta Braves. And although he was seen as a talent early on, he is a prime example of a player that grew his prospect status with each promotion that he earned. The young third baseman compiled an OPS ranging anywhere from 830 to 910 as he progressed, and eventually slashed .275, .372, .506 as a 21-year-old in AAA. He was ranked as the number 11 prospect in baseball prior to the 2004 season, and the number 9 prospect prior to the 2005 season. His hottest cards were the 2003 Bowman Chrome, Topps Chrome, and short-printed Topps Heritage rookie cards. After performing really well in AAA, the Braves called Marte up to the big league team in late 2005. But he quickly stumbled, having a batting average of only 140 with limited power and a 16 OPS plus, way below league average, which is 100. And it didn't help that Marte was blocked at third base for the Braves by future Hall of Famer Chipper Jones. Based on his lackluster big league debut in 2005 and being blocked by Chipper, Marte was packaged in a deal with the Red Sox that brought Edgar Renteria to the Braves after the 2005 season. And before ever putting on a Red Sox uniform, Marte was repackaged by the Red Sox and sent to the Cleveland Indians that same offseason. The Indians immediately sent him back down to AAA for some more seasoning, where he did play well and was selected to the AAA All-Star Game and won the Home Run Derby at the AAA All-Star Game in 2006. The Indians weren't very good then, so they were actually in selling mode in 2006. And when they traded their starting third baseman, that left a position open for Marte to be called up to the big league squad. Unfortunately, Marte spent the next 5 seasons going back and forth between AAA and the major leagues, never really being able to establish himself. He played sparingly and compiled a 73 OPS plus out of a total of 277 big league games. His only major league season where he compiled a positive WAR was his first full season, where he compiled a 0.9 WAR by hitting .226 with 5 home runs. The rest of his seasons were all negative in value. But he hit well every single time he was demoted back to AAA, including a 963 OPS in 2009. But he just couldn't figure out major league pitching. Going into the 2010 season, he became a free agent and signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And after the Pirates, he signed for 1 year to play in the Atlantic League in 2013. In 2014, he returned to Major League Baseball, signing with the Angels, followed by the Diamondbacks, appearing one last time in the big leagues in 6 games for the Diamondbacks in 2014. Marte then signed to play for the Korean Baseball League for 2015 and 2016, but unfortunately, he was killed in a car crash in his home country of the Dominican Republic in January of 2017, ending his life early at the age of only 33. The last prospect bust that I'm going to cover in this video is a starting pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles, Adam Loewen. Now, I have to admit, Loewen is a special prospect to me because he grew up playing baseball in Surrey, British Columbia. I moved to Vancouver, British Columbia in 2004 and immediately began coaching in the Premier Baseball League, the same league that produced Adam Loewen, who would be selected number 4 overall in the 2002 draft by the Orioles. I had never seen Loewen pitch or met him because I moved after he had been drafted. But coaching in the league at that time, all the kids loved to talk about Loewen because he was the highest draft pick in Canadian history. And this is the same league that has produced high-quality major league players like Justin Morneau, Rich Harden, James Paxton, Nick Pivetta, and Tyler O'Neill through the years. Now, Loewen went on to play 1 season at community college before signing with the Orioles in 2003, which was a common practice back in those days before the draft rules changed. Players at that time could actually attend junior college and still be able to sign with the team that drafted him the previous year. But because Loewen had signed so late, he could only pitch in 7 games for the Orioles system at the end of that season. But when he did pitch, he performed quite well, compiling a 2.7 ERA over those games. He was ranked the number 14 prospect in baseball heading into the 2004 season. But that is as high as Loewen's star ever got. He pitched mediocre baseball in Single A in 2004 and High A in 2005. And coming into the 2006 season, his prospect status had dropped, ranked number 45 in baseball. He did pitch a very strong game in the inaugural World Baseball Classic in 2006 for Team Canada against the United States, earning the win pitching 3 2/3 scoreless innings. And he was called up to pitch for the Orioles big league team in late 2006, but he pretty much face-planted immediately. When his first 4 major league starts, he went head-to-head with Randy Johnson, Tom Glavine, and Roy Halladay twice, all future Hall of Famers. He lost command of his pitches early in 2007 and really struggled through the first half of that season, eventually being diagnosed with a stress fracture in his throwing elbow in July of 2007 and deciding to retire from pitching due to chronic injuries later that same year. But the following season, in 2008, Loewen decided to transition from a pitcher to a position player. The Orioles had already released him, so he signed on with the Toronto Blue Jays prior to the 2009 season, and he was assigned to AAA, where he went on to hit .306 with 17 home runs that season as a first baseman, which is quite an accomplishment when you consider that he had not been hitting regularly since 2002. Loewen was eventually called up to the Blue Jays big league team in late 2011, but he just didn't stick with them. He played in the minor leagues again for the Blue Jays in 2012 and the Mets in 2013, before returning to pitching again with the Phillies in 2014. And he was able to work his way back to the major leagues as a pitcher this time, pitching in a handful of games with the Phillies in 2015. He then signed with the Diamondbacks in 2016, again pitching in a handful of games for the big league team, before finishing his career in the Texas Rangers minor league system in 2018. He did spend the 2019 season pitching in the independent Atlantic League as well, like a lot of players that we've seen from these lists. And in addition to that, he pitched for Team Canada on 5 different occasions on the world stage, including coming back out of retirement to join the team for the 2023 World Baseball Classic. So there's my 4 prospects for today's video, and we're starting to see a lot more often that these prospects really gained prospect status by performing well early in the minor leagues. But in a lot of their cases, once they got to the major leagues, they just couldn't cut it. And this is where my view really started to change. I saw guy after guy tearing up the single A, double A squads, even triple A. But when they got to the major leagues, they just couldn't play at that caliber. And I couldn't justify any more investing in any of these players if they could never even make a name for themselves in a major league squad. I've got one more video coming up after this where I really closed out my prospecting days. So join me next time to check out a few more guys from 2005, 2006, when I decided once and for all that prospecting just didn't make sense to me. Until next time, be careful who you invest in, keep talking baseball, and we'll see you around.